Hello, and welcome back to Protip. Today, we're excited to chat with Jon Horford. John has played Division One basketball, NCAA basketball for the Michigan Wolves. He's played 4 years in the G League with Grand Rapids Drive, as well as the Cleveland Charge. He played professionally in Dominican Republic as well as Belgium. He's also the founder of the Blueprint Athletes app, and he's passionate about coaching basketball to kids aspiring to grow their game. Super excited to have you here, John. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having
John, we'll jump right into it, and we'll kind of explore your, I guess, basketball journey and how you got started. So, what got you into basketball?
me. First, I just want to say, Michigan Wolverines. I feel like there are people that will get upset about it.
Oh, sorry. What
Michigan
did I
Wolves.
say?
You're good. Michigan Wolves. You're good.
Oh man. Okay. No. Yeah. I even
Yeah, you're
had.
good.
I even wrote down Wolverines, and I don't
Yeah,
know why
you're,
I went
yeah,
with Wolves. Yeah. No, that
yeah,
will be bad.
no,
I will get. I
no.
will get hate mail for sure.
Right, exactly. So I just want to, clear that up.
Wolverines.
But
My bad. That
no, you're
was
good.
a camera freeze moment, I think there.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
So my basketball journey started, um, I don't know, quite different than a lot of people who are fortunate enough to, play on the levels that I was, lucky enough to play on. Um, I didn't really love basketball to start, but I come from a basketball family.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where I was kind of forced to play. I didn't really, I was basically a bench warmer from, second grade till I got to high school.
Yeah.
Wanted to quit, didn't really love it. And then was fortunate enough to, finally get to the point where I was so good that coaches couldn't kind of like deny it or keep me on the bench or whatever it is. And I think my upbringing actually is one of the reasons why I was so passionate about training and mentoring and working with kids to develop them. Because youth sports is so toxic in so many ways, and people are trying to win like NCAA championships in fourth grade, and it's like,
Yeah.
calm down. Like, you
Yeah.
need to make it fun for these kids. You need to give all these
Right.
kids opportunities to grow and get better, and build their confidence, be able to work with other people. But people focus so much on the winning. So, as soon as I got to Michigan, that next summer I started coming back to my hometown and just training any kids that wanted to train for free, just to provide them with opportunities that I know would have made a world of difference to me, and just trying to kind of help coaches in the area to shift their mentality. They're making it all about winning by any means, not about, developing good, fundamentally sound athletes and creating a fun environment that's going to keep kids engaged and keep them playing for a long period of time versus how many kids quit because they have a horrible experience when they're in elementary
Yeah.
school or middle school. So many.
Yeah.
And that's coaching. And that's coaching. And that's creating negative cultures that aren't welcoming and don't provide everyone with, equitable opportunity.
So I guess I'm going to shift around in my questions here because I think you touched upon so many good points there. But what at what point in your career did you start thinking that, you know what, I could be that difference when it came to coaching, that that can provide this different voice to kids and bring allow them to have the joy of playing the sport? Because I mean, from what you're saying, you kind of went in where you were forced to play and the joy wasn't necessarily there for you at an early age. At what point did that shift happen for you where it's like, you know what, it wasn't there for me, but I can make it happen for other kids?
I think it was kind of always there because I mean, even in high school, we would, we'd have to coach at kids camps and ref kids and do all this stuff. And I'm telling these kids my story. I'm on the team. I'm the one who's getting all the Division One scholarships and and all state and all that. So it's just like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. Like, you're great. I'm like, yeah. Don't focus on that. I was like you, or worse than you. I was like, you guys play on your team? Yeah, I play. I was like, dude, I literally didn't get off the bench for like
Right.
a decade. Like, not
Right.
at all, like barely, like if we're up by like 30. And just trying to get kids and coaches, more importantly, coaches, I mean, because it's up to the coaches to play these kids and to create these environments. Like, give people opportunities. Stop looking at it as I need to win. No one cares that it's great, it's fun. You won your fifth grade championship, a lot of fun, awesome. But like, at what cost? Five, six of the kids have the time of their life. The rest of the kids and parents, you know, they're not super engaged with it. And then you have kids that aren't going to come out for the team in the future. And then you get to high school, and at least in some parts of Michigan right now, the talent has dropped so much. And then the amount of kids coming out for teams. I know there are teams in the Lansing area where I'm at currently that they can barely field freshman and JV teams because the engagement's so low
Oh
with the
wow.
kids. They don't want to come out for these teams. But
Yeah.
you created that negative experience when they were little, and then you expect them to just stick with it because,
Right.
not everybody's fortunate. Like, I had a mentor and a trainer that worked with me through those years, even when I wasn't playing. And if it wasn't for them, I would have quit. Not every kid has that. Not every
Right.
kid has that support system. So without it, it's so hard to keep a kid going on that path. So I knew, especially when I got to college, I'm like, I'm going to come back every summer. I'm going to train I'm going to, like, I train, but then after I train, any kid that wants to come in and get free training, and I've done it for 12 years now, right?
Oh wow.
Any kid that
Yeah.
wants to come get free
Yeah.
training, come train for free, come to the gym, I'll open it up, I'll show you how to play, I'll get you ready. And, my thing is, I'll take any kid, the kid who can't, walk and dribble, or the kid that's already really good. But most of the kids that have come through my program and just have worked with me have been the kids that had a high drive to, be successful in basketball, but didn't really get the opportunities, or, weren't the best. Unfortunately, a bunch of them have gone on to, make their teams, star on their teams, play college basketball. I mean, I have a number of kids playing college basketball right now that came from positions where, like, I had one kid who got cut his senior year. He's playing, junior college basketball. I have multiple kids playing, Division II basketball. Um, I don't have any Division I kids right now, but like I said, most of my kids are kids that coaches told me, like, that kid probably won't even make varsity, and these
Right.
kids are able to play on the college level now. I mean, it's just like incredible to me that they were able to, just see past that, buy into what I was telling them, and then just stay the course. I mean, it's the consistency and showing up day in and day out and allowing yourself to be bad. It's one of the hardest things for kids. Like, I mean, I've had so many kids, just quit, and, some of them never come back, some of them do come back just because they're so bad in the beginning that they're embarrassed. Even though we try to create an environment that, like, no one would
Yeah.
laugh at these kids. Like, I tell them all the time, I was like, that kid that you see now that's the best player here, 3 years ago, that kid could not dribble from, the top of the key to the basket
Yeah.
if a defender was in front of him. And now that
Yeah.
kid is crushing everybody and starting, in one of the best leagues in D2 in the States. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can do it. You just have to stick with it, and there's just a lot of growing pains associated with that.
Yeah. So you actually touched upon, what I was going to ask you about, what makes a successful coach and what makes a successful student. So with the students, I think you mentioned, the kids that stuck with it, they had the drive and like that, desire to put in the work, stay the course, as you say, and get better. And then the results started coming over time, right? What is it that, from your coaching philosophy, uh, that you feel allows them to kind of stick with it? Because are you coaching them in games and other areas as well, or is it mainly on the practices and the off season work, if you will? um,
I focus mainly on development of kids, so just helping them to, develop skills, um, develop relationships, but then also to, just develop these habits that I know will make them successful basketball players. So that's my main focus. I have coached some teams. And fortunately, the teams that I've coached have been, successful, and they've played well together. I mean, my philosophy with coaching is, help kids to, master these basic fundamentals and be able to play the game in an intelligent way. Um, I've had coaches, I've done hundreds of basketball clinics and camps and things like that. And I would just be like, "You really just worked on layups for an hour? Can you do that?" I was like, "We should have done it for 3 hours." I
Yeah.
was like,
Right.
"I don't know what you're talking about." I was like, "If your kid can't make 5 wide open layups in a row, like,
Yeah.
and then you're expecting them to get into the game, and then you're freaking out when they're missing layups. It's like no one's guarding them. It's like you need to work on their balance, their footwork, their hand balance. You know what I mean? Their
Yeah.
their hand-eye coordination. You have to just it gets so repetitive, but people forget because especially in today's era, you go to Instagram, it's like, oh, I want the sexy drill, I want
The
the step
hezzies and
back
the
spin, like fade away, blah blah blah. Like, sure, do all that stuff, but in all honesty, you know what works best? Like high level basketball. If you can catch and shoot really well, if you can catch and
yeah,
attack closeouts really well, and then if you get cut off, if you can just pass the ball really well and move the ball efficiently, like get really good at that, and you'd be welcome on any team. Like once you get to the higher levels, especially, very few players are the all right. Let's go break them down. Like not everybody can be John Morant or Jason Tatum or whatever. Like most people are role players. So just getting
right.
kids to buy into being stars in their role, being really fundamentally sound. Like with my kids, we work on passing. Like you need to be a great passer. Passing lowers turnovers, right? The team that turns the ball over the least amount, I mean, that gives you more possessions, right? It's so more opportunities to score. Good passers also help you to score better because if I get a pass right at my chest, I can catch it in my
Yeah,
hands and just go right into my shot. Great. If I have to reach far over to my left or my right, you know what I mean? Or if I'm
Yeah.
yeah,
wide open for a layup, but you throw it off my shin, it's over, and we just lost an easy scoring opportunity. Or,
right.
similarly with being able to, pivot and pivot through pressure. Like a lot of times people think that, oh, I need all these crazy moves. It's like, if you honestly just learn to be strong and balanced and learn how to pivot through pressure, you can read the pressure just off feel. And if I feel this pressure like on my shoulder here, I know I can front pivot and finish on the other side. You know what I mean? So just learning all these little things, like people overcomplicate the game. People are always trying to be like, you need 50 cones and slide cones and heavy balls. And then when you go up,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to swing this. I'm going to swing this giant foam roller thing at you and slide something under your feet, and you're going to have to dodge that too. And it's just like, do these kids
Yeah.
like, how's their balance? How's their ability to pass? How's their ability to pivot? How's their ability to just catch and shoot, or just catch and attack closeouts? It's one of those things where it's like, oh man, I need to be able to break people down. I was like, dude, you want to break people down? Like when the defender is in a help position in between the ball and you, if you just catch it and attack right away versus catching it and allowing them
Yeah,
to reposition and allowing the defense to shift and just attack, you're
you'll
gonna
catch them off
you're
balance.
gonna you're gonna create disadvantages, especially if the defenders
Yeah,
aren't disciplined. Which at the middle school and high school level, how many teams are disciplined? They're not at all.
yeah,
And then if they do
Yeah.
shift
yeah.
over, pass it and repeat the
Yeah.
process. I promise
Right.
you move the ball from side to side a few times, they're going to break down. So it's like,
You'll find the
it's
breakdown.
just being
Yeah.
smart, being patient, and trusting that playing the game in a simple but calculated way is way more effective than just being able to break people down and hit all these crazy shots. Like,
Yeah.
let them do all that. You tire yourself
Yeah.
out. We're just going to play smart over here.
How long does it take for you to kind of have those breakthrough moments with kids where they can kind of leave out the brainwashing they've seen on Instagram and kind of buy into this philosophy of like fundamentals will help me get better, right?
It just depends on the kid. I mean, it depends on how often they wanna show up and work. It depends on some kids have more natural ability than other kids. Some kids are just more coordinated. Some kids just pick things up quicker.
Yeah.
No matter how you teach it to them, um, it's inevitable. But I haven't had a kid ever that stuck with it consistently for at least 6 months. And when I say consistently, you got to be working out at least like probably like 3 times a week minimum.
Yeah.
I've never had a kid that couldn't pick it up. They can all pick it up eventually. It's just, I ask
Are
my
they going to
kids
put
all
in
the
the
time,
time?
yeah, you got to change your habits or change your goals, right?
Right.
One of those two things has to change. So kids come to me all the time. Like even now, like I'm working, for example, I'm working with some players at a school in Lansing Eastern. They're historically a pretty good basketball school, but last year I think they won like 2 or 3 games. Um, but they have about 4 or 5 players on that team that, if those kids were disciplined, if they trained consistently, just based on their height and athleticism, they could all be Division One players. Like just an amazingly talented team. And then if they took academics, more seriously,
Seriously.
because I think 4 of the 5 kids weren't academically eligible
Uh-huh.
last year. That I'm just like, these kids could absolutely play Division One. One's a
Yeah.
senior, 4 juniors, and it's one of those things where you know they haven't had success, so they have a little bit of but they still are a little bit delusional because they don't think that they need to show up consistently to train. They think it's enough to just show up once or twice and sometimes just go through the motions. I'm like, that's totally fine. You just want to be mediocre high school players and have fun with your friends. If
Yep.
that's your goal, awesome.
Right.
That's totally fine. But don't tell me that you want to play Division One basketball and then show up to work out once a week. Like one of the guys took like the last 2 weeks off and then showed up to a workout 2 days ago and was just like winded after the warm up, just huffing and puffing. And he's like, "Oh, it's so hot in this gym. That's why I'm like this." I'm like, "Dude, it has nothing to do with that." I was like, "Have you worked out for the last 10 days?" He was like, "No." I was like, "You can't take 10 days off working out and then come into the gym and expect to like be fresh and good to go." It's like, it just doesn't work like that. Like, you have to have you have to be able to set realistic expectations. So you got to change your habits and show up consistently, push yourself past your limits, pay attention to details, or you have to change your goals. Stop telling me you want to be, I'm going to treat you according to your goals. If you tell me you want to be a Division One player, I'm going to treat you like a Division One player. And none of them put in the time that a Division One player needs to put in. None of them. But that's super common with kids all the time. I mean, I run into kids. I've been doing this for, you know, 12 years. So, and I run into kids all the time. It's like, "Oh man, you were so right. Like, I don't know why I didn't listen to you when you were telling me when I was in 7th grade and 8th grade that, I thought it was going to be enough. I thought Tom Izzo was just going to come off of me a scholarship." I'm like, dude, I don't know why. Like, stats aside, because stats aren't the reason necessarily why people get scholarships. It helps, but it's a coach being able to see that you can contribute to winning. Like, you impact teams in a positive way on such a level that you would benefit our college program. So it's not always like stat based, but I mean, some of these kids, it's like you can average 20 points a game in high school and still not be recruited to play college if
Right.
the way that you play won't benefit a team, won't
The
benefit,
team.
a college system. You know what I mean? Whereas I've seen guys average, 8, 10 points. You know, they rebound the ball well, they pass the ball well, they defend, they communicate, they're in the right positions, they, have hands up every time someone shoots it to affect every shot. Um, and I've seen those kids get scholarships. I've seen kids that didn't play. Like I said, I had two kids a couple years ago that did not play their senior year. One was benched their senior year, one was cut from the team their senior year. That both are playing college basketball right now, just
That's awesome.
because they kept working and then they played AAU and then they got looks off AAU. I mean, there are opportunities out there, but you have to be, tough enough to stay the course.
Do you think with some of those kids, it's that they were maybe natural athletes when they were younger and were kind of crushing it in middle school, high school, and then kind of coasting on that a little bit?
Sometimes it's that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that. A lot of times it's just. I swear it's a lot of it's parents. Um,
Okay.
Parents will feed a delusion into a kid's head.
Okay.
Like I had
Everyone wants to
another
play like
kid.
an and one style basketball.
It's just crazy, or that they don't have to change, or that they're God's gift. And like I had one
Okay.
kid, for example, that I
Yeah.
trained. Really, really talented kid, really hard worker, but horrible attitude. He got kicked off his high school team. Then he went to prep. He got kicked off his prep team. Uh,
Ah,
um, and then he's playing in an high school, full scholarship right now. And he got suspended for his first game for fighting again. Like, the kid just, like,
yeah.
I'm like, dude, you have to treat your teammates with respect. Like, there are fights, but, like, at,
Right.
at some point, you argue, you push each other, like, that stuff happens. But You can't, be throwing
You got to
punches at your
de-escalate.
teammates all the time. You can't.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will take it too far. That stuff does happen, but when it happens every single like place that you go, like you're the issue. And I've been telling that kid since he was a freshman. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
your attitude and the way you treat your teammates is going to get you in trouble. And I've been telling him that since he was like 14, and he's 20 now, and he's still doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but a lot of times the parents feed into that, like, oh, don't let anybody disrespect you. You take care of that. It's like, how you take care of it. Ignore that. Play to the best of your ability, and make the most of the opportunities that you're given, and then let everything else take care of itself. So it's just, yeah.
I was going to ask before I hand off to Chris, two more questions regarding coaching. And I guess, who were your biggest coaching influences? You mentioned you had mentors and coaches, going through high school or grade school, but who would you say was the biggest influence that shaped your thinking to where it is now?
Um, Two. So I would say there are two. So just for general, like being there for kids, helping kids, all that, and the way and the reason I do it the way that I do it, for free, is because I had a trainer and a mentor who trained me for free when I was growing up. He worked with a bunch of people. He worked with my older brother Al, plays for the Celtics now. He trained Sadie Washington, who's one of the assistant coaches at Michigan, who went to Western Michigan. He trained a bunch of us. And, he was a huge influence on me getting into this world and just providing opportunity for people, and just, seeing the benefit that that can have on a life. I got my undergrad paid for, I got my master's paid for. I've been able to play professional basketball. Without him, I probably wouldn't be in that position. And then just in terms of my like philosophy and attention to detail, like increased attention to detail and all that, I would say, John Beeline from Michigan, former Michigan coach, had a big influence on the way that I looked at all of the little things, just because I saw the benefit that could have, even at the college level. I mean, he made us go through things that, fifth grade coaches would be like, oh, our team doesn't need to practice that. And he would make us practice that, even after went to Big Ten championships, went to a national championship game. And then we get back to practice. It's like, all right. It's like, all right, step and catch passes. All right, let's pivot through pressure. And like, you know what I mean? All these things that's just like, oh, it's so basic, but that repetition and, doing it consistently just keeps your mind sharp, keeps your skills sharp. And it's just it's emphasizing that this matters, this is important, taking care of the ball, and being smart and putting yourself in positions to have success is critical to being able to win and wear down your opponents.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like your philosophy is very much like the bread and butter of the sport is really important to get, not nail the fundamentals, like be a good team player. And then, if you can handle that, then you can work on being like a superstar, right? It seems like, because you
Exactly.
got to get that
Build your
groundwork first.
foundation. Build your
Yeah.
foundation. Like, if you can't make basic layups, stop trying to do Euros. Stop trying to work on, spin, pump fake step throughs. Like,
Yeah.
build it up gradually. I mean, and that was the idea behind the blueprint, and me and Anish worked on it for a long time together. It's showing people how to do that. And the tough thing always is that, even offering free in-person training where kids don't have to, like, I've never charged my kids that come to me. Like, I've had some private clients that are like, hey, we drive, an hour and a half, 2 hours, each way to come train my kid privately. Like, that's different. But like any kid who's ever come to Lansing, to any of the facilities that I train out of, they don't pay for the facilities, they don't pay for the training, they don't pay for anything. And even then, getting kids to show up consistently. I mean, I've had, a few dozen kids over the years that have shown up consistently, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds have come through. But how many stick with it? Very, very few. Very, very few. So getting people to use an app, is very difficult for training. It's very difficult. Yeah. Like, even when you have a trainer there, showing them everything, walking them through it, it's difficult. So getting kids to like follow it. But it's there. It's there. And we still do. We have people using it all the time. I have coaches using it. And there are people who get better. A bunch of people send me before and afters of like their skills. It's just, it's tedious. It always reminds me of how, I don't remember who said the quote, but it was everybody wants to play like Kobe. But if you watch Kobe work out, you would be bored as hell. So you
Yeah,
just
right. Yeah.
he would do like the same, like two moves, like a main move and a counter. He'd work on it for like 30 minutes, and then he'd get another move and do that for like, it's just like he's just doing the same thing over and over again. It's like, yeah,
It's
Yeah.
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
interesting how with your heroes, right? You see them play on court, in performance in competition, but you don't see like those hours and hours and hours and hours spent just like doing layups,
Honing in the basics.
working
exactly,
drills. Yeah, it's that all kind of happens like behind the scenes. It's sort of interesting, I guess, that people don't always get that. So
exactly,
it sounds like your blueprint platform is sort of built around sort of fundamental drills and training, like you were saying earlier, just to get kind of the fundamentals established, so you can then grow from there.
for sure. And then from there, I mean, there are like specific sets, like there's different categories. It's like back to the basket scoring, face up scoring,
Yeah,
drills for finishing in the rim, drills for shooting stationary, drills for shooting off the dribble, drills for shooting off the move, dribble handoff drills, pick and roll drills. And then we also have complementary strength conditioning, in the weight room strength conditioning, at home strength conditioning. So just giving kids um, every opportunity to, work on their game, and over 100 dribbling drills. Like kids are always like, you're only
yeah,
limited by, your thoughts. And kids have been like, oh, well, I don't even have a basketball. It's like, you can do the balance drills and the home strength conditioning drills. And I've sent a million kids basketballs. Like, you need a basketball? I'll send you a basketball. Are you going to do the dribbling drills? I know that 80% of them, 90% of them aren't. Even if I send them a basketball, brand new, beautiful basketball,
right,
they still won't do it because it's hard work. Like, people
yeah,
want the instant gratification. They're like, I worked hard for a week. Why don't I have a Division I scholarship? I worked hard for a month. Why am I not in the NBA? And it's just like anything in life. If you want to be good at
yeah,
it, you have to grind for so long, so much longer than people think, so much
yeah, for
longer than
sure.
people think.
I
So,
think there's that new thing where I changed sports later in life because my got arthritis in my feet and switched to climbing. And when I got into that initially, I was terrible. And it's so hard to come into a space and be terrible at a sport. But you just know, like, you got to just get through the suck part and
Yeah,
just be bad and just keep working it for a long time until you get to a point where you're like, actually, I'm not the worst guy in the room anymore.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
humbling though.
It is.
and to plug what John said about Blueprint Athletes, I mean, I was part of the team that helped build that with John. Um, he spent hours kind of crafting together a structured plan for anyone from beginners to advanced, and each drill kind of progresses on the next one, right? So if you spend on an honest effort going through the guides and working on them weekly and then progressing to the next one, as you get better, or as it becomes easier. The thing is, things becoming easier just means that you can go even harder and make the drill difficult for yourself, right? So you could spend months and years with this one app and just keep getting better and better, because all the resources that you need to build your fundamentals are there. So I think, kudos to John for the vision there, and putting it all together. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I'm definitely, my son just got into basketball. He's playing rep in Ontario here. He's 9, so he I didn't push him to it, but he kind of wants to do it. I'm gonna show him the app and have him try it out and see if he wants to put the time in. I know he might get lazy, but then I'm gonna give him your line, John, which is either change your goals, or what was it? Either
change your
uh,
habits or change your
change your habits or
goals.
change your goals.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it is, and I mean it. And you can make the simplest drill difficult. Like
Yeah,
I've had people, I get kids all the time that are like, oh man, this is too easy. Like I was like, all right, I'm going to take you through a 30-minute workout. We're not going to do anything, but we're going to do 3 stationary dribbling drills. We're going to do some basic layup drills, and then we're going to do some shooting drills. And I'll show them. I'm like, I'll show you me, professional athlete, former professional athlete. I can get this done in 20 minutes. I was like, let's see if you can get it done in 30 minutes. I was like, seems super easy. They're like, man, this is too easy for me. I'm like, you have to go at this pace. 45 minutes, 60 minutes later, they're still in the shooting phase. They can't make three in a row from mid range. I'm just like, you think you're so much better than you are. I get
Right.
it, but I'm trying to help you to understand that you can make the simplest drill difficult if you give yourself less rest, if you push yourself past your limits. People overthink it. They think they need these magical drills. You don't need these magical drills. You just need to rep the fundamentals and you need to be more efficient with it. You need to go faster. You need to push yourself harder. And then you need to show up every day. Or at least I tell kids, if you want to be like a high level athlete, if you're not working out, if you're not working on your craft at least 5 days a week, I don't know what to tell you. It in a productive way, not just like in a nonsensical way. Like a lot of kids will just get in the gym and just, throw up some shots and take a Snapchat or Instagram picture and be like, in the gym today. It's just, were you? What did you get accomplished today?
They were in the gym.
Yeah, you were in the gym. It's like, I'm super
You were in
proud
the
of
gym.
you, but like, are you going to get better? So that structure that's the hardest part to get kids to buy into. But that's why we have to create these cultures when they're younger. It makes it second nature. That's why European basketball is, they're so much more fundamentally sound, and they're making the strides that they are. That from a young age, they're drilling this stuff, but they're also making it fun for kids and creating environments that allow kids to become extremely fundamentally sound, which allows them to build on that foundation earlier than American kids who a lot of times, just struggle through until they're, juniors, seniors in high school, and then, try to grow from there or never grow. I mean, people have been saying it for years, but I think it's becoming more and more apparent just that the models that they use in Europe to develop these kids, which they used for a long time with like their, their football, soccer
Yeah.
programs, and they're just doing the same model for basketball. It's genius.
Right.
And it's what we should do, and it's actually what I do with like my younger kids, is just try to build them up in those ways. And I mean, they've been super successful. My young kids coming up are going to be my best kids because of the kids I got when they were the youngest. We got to set their foundations, and it becomes second nature for them to work hard, and they're just so much more fundamentally sound at a young age than even their counterparts. Like I have a bunch of kids that are freshmen this year, and almost all of them are going to be on varsity. I wasn't even on varsity as a freshman, and it's just because they're extremely solid.
So speaking of that kind of basic, that kind of training, how did it look for you? How did your training look for you when you were playing, sort of at a competitive level? What was that like? Your training?
So like the training that we received in like college and in the pros.
Yeah.
Honestly, super similar to everything that's on Blueprint.
Yeah.
So I've been fortunate. I mean, I played for John Beeline. I played for Billy Donovan at University of Florida for grad school. I played for John Calipari for Dominican national team. He's Kentucky's head coach. Then I played for some great coaches in the pros, and that's the thing. Pros just do the simple thing at just an incredibly efficient level. So you think you have to do all these like crazy shooting drills, this and that. Honestly, can you catch and shoot the ball extremely well? Can I pass and sprint to a spot just in the most efficient manner possible and have my hands and my feet ready? And then by the end of the shot, by the time I'm going into the shot, am I squared to the basket and landing with balance? Can I, pump fake and counter if somebody closes out too well and create enough space to get, my mid-range pull up off? Like, it's those little things. It's just mastering those little things and being extremely good at them that makes pros so good. So we didn't do crazy drills on the college or the pro level. We did basically the drills that are on the Blueprint Athletes app, but we just do them 10 times better than you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah. You work them a lot.
that we just work them and work them and work them and work them and work them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not rocket science, but everybody's looking for that shortcut. So there are so many trainers out there that, we're going to work on, all this craziness. It's just like, you honestly don't need it, and 99% of kids aren't ready for it. Like, I tell kids
That
all
makes
the time,
sense.
man, I'll go into gyms and I'll be like, I'll just watch kids. I can just evaluate. I mean, just dribble around, shoot, layups.
Yeah.
I can tell. Like, I already know. I'll tell kids, I'll give you $1,000 right now if you can make 10 layups in a row. No one guarding you. I'll give you $1,000. Like, I'll Venmo you. Nope. Nope. I've never had one.
Safe bet.
I've never had one of those kids that I've asked to do that, and there have been like over 100 over my
Yeah.
12 years of training kids. Not one kid has done it.
Yeah.
And these are these are usually kids that are like, oh, this is too easy. I'm not going to any kid. Like, there are certain kids I know will crush it.
They're pretty good. Yeah.
There are kids that
have some ability.
there are kids that think they're really good. They're better than like the people around them, but they're still shaky. I'm like, just 10 layups in a row. I'll give you $1,000. I'll Venmo you right now. I've never had one kid do it. Yeah. So I mean, it's just the humility that you have to have sometimes, and just hopefully, like I said, it's a culture shift. It's something that we need to shift in America. We need better coaches at the youth level. I don't know if that means finding money to pay people, because right now it's basically what I ran into. For example, I played on teams from second grade to high school where the coach was someone on the team's dad. And every single one of those coaches was horrible. They're all horrible.
Okay.
They would play the kids they wanted to play, which usually were like the better kids. But sometimes they weren't. Like, I tell my kids that a story one time when I was in seventh grade, and this is like, I was so close to quitting. Just like, I'd wanted to quit for years. I was so close to quitting. My head coach goes on a cruise for a weekend. And keep in mind, I'm training the whole time. I'm practicing. I'm playing pickup. I'm doing all these things. I'm capable. So this coach goes on vacation. The assistant coach, I still know him to this day. Every time I see him, I always tell him, I really appreciate this opportunity because it kept me going. He was like, I'm going to play John. Like, he's a good kid. He works hard. He never gets opportunity. I averaged like 20 points a game for that tournament. And like when like the water boy, like those videos of like when the water boy gets in at the end of the season, like my team was like, oh my God, it's a miracle. Oh my God, like, John, so good job, buddy. And I'm just like, dude, I work harder than all of you. I was like, your dad just doesn't give me any opportunity. And then 2 years later, I'm like the best player in our city. But it's just like, it's a lack of opportunity sometimes, and it's just so frustrating that we have these toxic youth cultures where it's all about winning and giving my kid more opportunity, and it's not just, let's create a fun environment, let's give everybody opportunity. And then in my mind, it's not until you get to the varsity level that it should be about winning. Like, until we get to the varsity level in high school, it should be about development and creating like a really fun, healthy environment. And then varsity, you still want a healthy environment, right? You still want to work on development, but it's about winning. Like, it's time to win now. So we're going to play our best players. But until then, until you, like, literally to JV basketball, it should be about development, period. No one's getting recruited. Oh man, let me see your JV basketball numbers. Let me see your freshman basketball numbers. Can you show me your sixth grade, that tournament that you played in Fort Wayne, Indiana when you were in sixth grade? Can I see the film for that? Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, it.
Shout out to Fort Wayne.
What do you think helped you have? What do you think helped you have that sort of that dedication to put in the time and do the work when you were younger? Was it like being from a sports family, or just kind of something in you?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I was kind of forced into it. My parents wouldn't let me play other sports.
Okay, yeah. So basketball was the main sport.
Yeah, my parents wouldn't let me play other sports, and then my trainer and mentor was a basketball guy, and he was just like, just keep playing. Like, just keep playing. It's gonna work out. Don't worry. Like, just trust me. Like, he's like, it's a shitty situation now, but it's gonna play itself out. Yeah. It took like 10 years to play itself out. So like, that's a long time to wait for a kid. It's a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then at some point it switched in my mind. Like, I was like, I want to prove all these kids that I've been playing with for so long wrong. Like, I want to show them that it wasn't a lack of ability, it was like a lack of opportunity. And then I was like, I want to play. My goal was, I want to play college basketball, get my school paid for. So that's the other thing my parents told me. They were like, basically, if you don't, there are a bunch of kids. We had, five of us. And then we had a kid that lived with us during the school year only. So 6 kids in the house, plus my cousin who was in college. So there's 7 of us in the house. And my parents were basically like, if you don't get a college scholarship, we're definitely not going to be able to pay for college. You're going to have to take out loans. And
Yeah, right.
I was just like, that's motivation. So I was like, I'm going to find a way to get my school paid for, and was fortunate enough to get to that point.
Yeah, to make that work.
I think you mentioned that it wasn't ability, it was a lack of opportunity. I think people need to make sure they don't confuse that with, because there's a lot of people, as you mentioned, that think that they should get the opportunity, but the difference was you were putting in the time and the effort to get yourself ready for the time when the opportunity came, right? So it wasn't just expectation of an opportunity without ever putting in the work. So I think that what you're drilling into your students right now, and what the thing that you put in, I think that's worth pointing out.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of kids will be like, yeah, I'm not getting an opportunity either. And it's
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
you never
why
work
do you
on your
deserve it?
game ever. Exactly. Even in middle school, I was in the gym 5-6 days a week for 2 hours a day, working on my game.
Right.
And I wasn't the most coordinated kid. I wasn't that tall yet either. So I had a lot to overcome. But yeah, I outworked all my teammates. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids it's just rare. I have one kid I've ever trained that works as hard as I used to work. And that kid is going to be amazing. Like he could be, I don't know how tall he's going to be because his parents aren't that tall. But I mean, even right now, the kid is just an absolute. I think he's 6th grade right now.
Okay.
There are games where he'll hit like 8 threes in a game. He'll hit like 50 threes over the course of a tournament. The kid is just smart. He buys in. He's dedicated. He's, you know, um, his attention to detail is just, great. But we've drilled it into him for, years, and it's just second nature to him. But he's an absolute beast of a kid. He's little too. Like he's always the littlest one on the floor, but just killing people. So it's possible, but it's so rare to find kids that are willing to put in that kind of time. But if you're willing to do it, it's sky's the limit.
I think I might know your answer to this from what we've been talking about, but for like some of these kids coming up, what might they not know about how some of the tough aspects of being a professional athlete? Like, what are some of the hard bits about being a professional athlete that they may not appreciate? Kind of gloss over the idea of it just being, amazing, easy kind of thing.
I would just start with what we've been harping on.
Yeah.
It just takes so much to get there. Like even playing at the NBA level, it's so hard. Like going from the G League, so for example, almost 50% of rosters, the guys have played like in the G League. So the G League is an extremely competitive league, and even at that, the NBA is even more competitive. It's the smallest of the professional sports leagues in terms of like the amount of roster spots. Like it's and when
It's
we talk pro,
450 people, right? 450 people that can make it to the NBA any given year, right?
exactly out of
In the world.
the 30, 40, 50 million people that play basketball.
Right. Just in the US.
Or just in the US, sorry. Just in the US. Yeah. So it's just the odds of getting there. Because when we talk professional basketball, most people are talking NBA. There are so many professional leagues and so many extremely, good, competitive professional leagues. But just the amount of time that, people have to put in. People genuinely underestimate, how difficult it is. And people it's one of those things like you don't even you don't even realize how good the last person on a bench in the NBA is. It's like how those people, that video of people like challenging Brian Scalabrine after he'd been
Yeah.
retired for like 2 years, and he beat them all, and like out of like 10 people, only one of them even scored. Like,
Right.
and this is a dude who had been out of the NBA for 2 years and was like a role player. You know what I mean? And it's like you have absolutely no chance of,
No chance.
of beating them. No chance. No chance at all. I mean, yeah, kids, it's tough for them to grasp sometimes. Even my players who have like gone on and played in college, like they'll always come back and like challenge me to play. Like, you want to play one on one, blah blah blah. Like, dude, they almost never score. No one's ever even been close to winning a game. You know what I mean? It's just it's hard. Like I didn't even play in the NBA. The closest I got was a preseason contract with Milwaukee Bucks, and you like none of my kids could beat me if their life depended on it. Like if
Right.
your life depended on it, you could not beat me. Like that's how hard it is. And I wasn't even a scorer. I was a defensive
Right.
player. Like I was a
Right.
rebounder. You know, score some like if you're open for a three, you can shoot it. Get a pick and roll. You know, some garbage buckets. Like, but for the most part, go rebound, go contest shots, go dive on the floor, do the dirty work. Like I wasn't even a scorer, and you can't beat me. Like, you know what I mean? That's how hard it is. Like, that's how good they are. Like, I try to get that through my kids' heads all the time because they're like, oh, well, I could play in the NBA. It's like, maybe. Can you beat me though? I was like, not yet.
Right.
Keep working, dude. I was like,
Keep working.
it's possible, but you're gonna have to be
Yeah.
better than me if you want to make it there.
Yeah, but pardon the pun, but I guess as you've been saying this whole interview, it's like the blueprint is there though, right? Like it's what you need to work on is all there. There's no secret sauce. It's just a function of how much time and effort you're willing to put into your own game and develop your habits. And then, obviously certain things have to fall your way, opportunities have to come. You mentioned the cultures and things like that, but are you doing enough yourself to put yourself in a position where you can succeed? Now if it doesn't go your way, then you can blame external circumstances and let it go if that happens. But did you do enough? I guess that's the question that we don't ask enough as athletes, right? Did I put in enough time to warrant being playing at the level that I want to play at, right? So yeah, that's awesome.
For sure. I mean, you're 100%. The blueprint is there. Unfortunately, I mean, there are players that some people are just so, if you look at 98% of people who are playing in like professional leagues, I mean, they're genetically, they're just, they have something that most people don't have. They're more athletic, they're taller, they just have something, especially on the NBA level. Like, unless you can get that, and then stay healthy on top of that and be in the right
Right.
place at the right time. I mean, there are so many things that have to go right sometimes, and you can work your ass off and still not have a workout. Like, I was 6'9", 250 pounds. My last year in the G League, I had the best pick and roll defensive percentage. So people scored the least amount when I was guarding a pick and roll. And when I retired from playing, I was top 5 all time in defensive rebounding percentage in the G League. And so I'm thinking in my mind, defending, rebounding, playing on teams, and impacting winning at a high level for 4 years, that should be enough to get me a look in the NBA. And like Pistons brought me in for like workouts. Like I said, Bucks had brought me in and stuff like that. But it still never materialized. You know what I mean? So you can work your ass off and it can still not work out, which is what I tell kids all
Right.
the time.
Yeah.
Just because you work really, really hard doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to meet your goals, but you're going to gain a strength of character along the way,
Yeah.
right? You're going to build relationships. You're going to build habits, right? You're going to get better. You're going to grow as an individual. So that is inevitable, but that you're going to be an NBA All-Star, it's not inevitable. You know what I mean? Even if
Right.
you work harder than everybody else in the world,
Right.
it still might not happen. Like the sixth grade I was telling you about, I've told him a million times, and I've told him for years. You could be the best shooter in the world someday. I mean, this kid can shoot the freaking ball like crazy, but if you only end up 5'8", you know, it doesn't
It'll be
necessarily.
tough.
Yeah.
It'll be tough to be in the NBA. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be extremely difficult. The guys who have been under 6 foot in the NBA, just incredibly fast, incredibly athletic, incredibly strong. And there's only been like a handful of them in history. The
Right.
NBA's been around since what, the 40s? So it's
Yeah.
like possible, but extremely, extremely difficult. But you could still be an amazing basketball player. You could still get your education paid for. You could still play professionally and make money,
Right.
like, and
And
take
see the
care of your
world, maybe
family
even.
and see the world. Like, there are still people just need to open up their minds. Like, so many people are like,
Yeah.
D1, NBA, that's it, and it's like not even close to the
Yeah.
truth. Not even close to the truth.
Yeah. It's awesome. I think we'll switch into. I think we're at almost at time, so we'll go into, I guess, the last couple of questions. So first one, I think, maybe it will come across as repetitive again, but what is your pro tip for aspiring players?
Change your
Drill the
habits and change your
fundamentals.
goals.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna make a sign of that up here behind me. Change your habits or change your goals. I'll
Yeah.
put Jon Horford underneath it.
Dude, it works for anything in life too. Like,
It's true.
one of my best friends that I made, he was our trainer when we were at the drive. And he was like, he used to be like, 400 something pounds, like, just, and he's lost hundreds of pounds. He was like, you know what? He was like, man, I used to make every excuse in the book. He was like, I would say it's my thyroid, it's because of this, it's because I'm genetically predisposed. He was like, you know what it was? He was like, food's delicious. And he was like, and I had no impulse control, and I just ate and ate and ate. And then as soon as I said, it's your fault and not anyone else's fault, and started holding myself accountable, he lost hundreds of pounds.
Right.
Like, it's hard sometimes to look in the mirror and be like, it's on me. It's the decisions that I'm making that are holding me back. But a lot of times, that's what it is. It's you, and you can make that decision. And it's not easy. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, for sure. All right, going into our final rapid fire round. Chris, you want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. So we got six quick questions. No wrong answers. All right. So, favorite basketball player?
Oh, man.
Yeah, hard to pick one.
All time, right now?
All time.
All time. Living or dead?
All time. There's only really been one basketball player I've ever kind of like, I don't want to say looked up to, but have just been kind of like enamored with ish. Will Chamberlain.
Oh, yeah.
Just a mythical creature, really.
The mythical creature, yeah.
He really is. He's just like a mythical creature, just incredibly athletic, and prolific in so many different ways. Only big men to ever lead the NBA in assists. I mean, just an absolute beast.
All right. And favorite sneaker?
I'm not really not a sneaker guy. I don't even know. Like, I usually just wear Vans. I don't know anything about sneakers.
Yeah. How about your go-to pregame song?
And I'm boring. I'm such a boring, simple person. I swear, I won't even listen to music pregame.
What did you do pregame? Sorry, I know this is not part of the rapid fire, but like, what was your pregame prep?
Take a nap, drink a smoothie or eat some fruit, watch some film, try to get some shots from game spots. And a lot of times I'm more of like an audiobook person. So I would listen to something to kind of, find one of my go-tos, big philosophy fan. So I would just listen to, I'd listen to something from Meditations or On the Shortness of Life, or, on Discourses, or even like Tao Te Ching, like, just listen to something like that to kind of just put everything in perspective. Like, this game is not the world. Like, you know what I mean? Right. It's just a game. It's not that big of a deal in the grand scope of things.
How about you probably don't want to just pick one, but what's your favorite drill?
My favorite drill. just to keep it as painfully plain and basic as possible,
Yeah.
just catch and shoot.
Catch shit. Yeah.
Let's just say just catch and shoot. We could even say like just catch and shoot with a contest, like where you have like one player underneath, one player ready to shoot from mid range or 3-point range. You pass it to them from underneath the basket, and then you have to work on your closeout, contesting the shot, and the other person has to get off the shot with pressure. So many people are like, oh, that's too basic, that's too easy. I'm like, can you make 5 in a row from 5 spots mid range, 5 in a row from 5 spots threes in like 10 minutes or less? I was like, then it's not that easy for you. I'm like, keep working, but they're not consistent. They don't have their hands ready. Their feet aren't balanced. They're not holding their follow through. They're fading away, right? There's like a million different factors that you have to lock in on and be consistent with to be a really, really good shooter. No matter what your form is, good shooters shoot the same way almost every time. They're extremely consistent or very close to the same way.
Yeah.
It's the
So then-
consistency.
That brings the next question, which I think I know what you might say. What's your least favorite drill?
Man, anything that brings in a bunch of like factors that you don't actually run into in the game. I get that they're supposed to mimic games, so like when people are like, all right, slide this rip cone and pick up that heavy ball and then pass it midway through your rep and finish on the other side with the jelly left hand off the high glass. And I'm just like,
it's never going to happen in game.
Picking that up because you want to emphasize, the freedom of that offhand, and then you're trying to make this tough finish on the other side. I'm like, but here's the thing: we're not scoring. We're not trying to score tough baskets in basketball. You should be trying to score as easily as possible. So we can just score off catch and shoot and just straight drive layups.
Easy pass.
Let's do that. Why complicate the game all the time? Like, I get being ready for the situations because they'll inevitably come. But I would rather be amazing at what we get 90% of the time, 95% of the time, than constantly drilling what we get 5% of the time and then have people doing what should be done 5% of the time, 90% of the time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
This was awesome. Thanks, Jon. If people stayed with this interview after I called Michigan Wolverines Wolves and made it this far, I think they've kind of picked up a lot of good information and just guidance of
Like
being.
this guy,
Hopefully, they didn't turn it off before they got past the first minute.
I know that you know that.
I promise you, I knew it was called the Wolverines. I think I just froze there, but that's my defense. But this it was incredible. I think the philosophy and the foundations that you're sharing around how to get better are applicable not just in basketball. I think it's true for a lot of sports and a lot of endeavors, right? Drilling in the basics, sticking with the fundamentals. I think it hearing it from someone who's done it at a high level and how you got there was eye-opening about how much time and effort it takes to get there. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate you guys.
Really appreciated appreciated it. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Bye.